Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie.
Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. For more information on how the CCIDA can assist your business, visit choosechq.com.
From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check it off, because we make getting vaccinated easy. You've got this, because we've got you. To learn more, visit yougotthis.usaging.org.
From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Here we are. It looks like I don't even know what to call it, Chautauqua rainout. I think Jeff told me that in some parts of the country they haven't had a dry weekend since November. Is that right, Jeff? Something like that? Oh, boy.
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Northeast. Well, I thought about that very fact, and I thought, you know, what was it like last year? And we were in a drought. Yeah. My pond was about half full, and now it's almost like 95% full. Grass is nice and green, the plants are growing well, but yeah, it's not a whole lot of fun when it's raining on the weekend, especially when we're all supposed to be enjoying some time off from work and that, but I don't know. I guess it's supposed to clear off today, and tomorrow looks promising, so let's just do the best we can. But that's not going to bother us here at the Chautauqua Sunrise. My guest today is going to be New York State Senator George Borrello, who's always a welcome guest here. And you know what I'm going to say when you call in, be nice. We're not here to be controversial. We're not here to argue. We're here to ask questions and get information, okay? So just keep that in mind. So starting right off the bat, I want to say good morning to everybody that's watching, whether you are watching me over in Europe or in different parts of the United States. I hope you're all doing well. And good afternoon to all my listeners on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people in Jamestown, Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. So glad you could join us. And once again, Anthony Merchant, congratulations on being the new general manager there at WRFA. All right. I want to say hello to Natalia in the Ukraine. She watches the show every week. I don't know how many times I've said this, Natalia, and to all your friends over there and fellow Ukrainians, please be safe, and we hope that this is going to end soon. If James is in Kenya right now, I know that Karen Cochran is back in town. She so much enjoys being there in Kenya, and I think we're going to get her on the show here. What do you think? Should we get her back? I think we should. She's got lots of stories to share about life in Africa and her work there. So, Karen, I'm glad you're back and safe, and hopefully we'll hear more about your visit there. throughout the show. If you have a question and you have a comment or you want to announce a particular event or fundraiser, give us a call this morning from between now and 10 o'clock at 716-753-5225. Very often people will say, well, I don't want to talk live. I don't want to hear my voice on the air. So call in, and Randy or someone will write it down in a little note, and then they hand it to Justin, and Justin slides it over to me, see how that works, like that, and I bring it right over here and I make the announcement. Okay, so get the information out. It's free of charge, and a lot of times organizations can't afford public relations because it might be a little expensive to run ads and things like that, but we're happy to do that, and we'll get it out for you. All right, throughout the week, if something comes up and you want to get your announcements to us, also, you can write to us at Chautauqua Sunrise, all one word, at gmail.com. Happy to get your announcements on. And Jeff requests that you get it in as early as possible because he's the guy that's got to put all my notes together for announcements, okay? So anyways, and always remember, it's not going to do us any good to let us know that Wednesday this coming week you're having an event because we don't talk about it because it's already done by next Saturday. So plan ahead, folks, and we'll work with you. Tomorrow's Father's Day. I hope that all dads and grandpas and all those that serve in the role of a dad have a wonderful day. We're going to have a big to-do at my daughter's house. It's kind of nice enough that the next generation is kind of taking over things. Instead of me having a barbecue, they're going to do the barbecuing this year, and we're going to have lots of fun together. So happy Father's Day to all those that are dads or fathers or uncles, good neighbors, whatever. Justin, someone had a birthday, and it's not one of us. Linda Spalding had a birthday this past week on the 9th. Linda, I know you're always watching, so I hope you had a wonderful birthday. I don't know how old she is. She's probably like 38, 39, something like that. I don't know. So anyways, Linda, I hope you had a great day. And if you want to call in and give me a hard time, that's fine. As you may notice, I had my haircut, and Brody got his haircut yesterday. I get my haircut 4 times a year every season, whether I want to or not. My wife's a cosmetologist, my daughter was a cosmetologist, and my mother-in-law was a cosmetologist, so I really don't have much choice in the matter. 4 times a year. So anyways, I was getting kind of bushy. So let's get to our announcements today, and then we'll get to my guest who is waiting in the wings here. All right. Let's start out with slide 15, Chautauqua County CHQ Chamber Jumpstart to 3rd Thursday is June 19th, so that's coming up. Kickoff 3rd Thursday in downtown Jamestown with entertainment and special events you won't want to miss. So Westfield has First Fridays, Jamestown has 3rd Thursday. Okay, so it starts from 4 to 6 and will feature live music and engaging attractions along 3rd Street, along with a series of special events starting at 4 p.m. You can hear the live music in various spots, that's interesting, along 3rd Street with vocalist and musician Adam McKillop, one of the guys I know. The duo, I haven't heard of these guys, New Juice, N-U Juice, and free face painting by Patty. Adam McKillop has been gracing our region with his vocals and musical talent since 2010, being multi-instrumental in drawing inspiration from musicians such as Damien Rice, Chris Teal, and Sam Bean. He has explored a range of genres in his career. Last time I saw Adam, he had his mandolin. I had my mandolin. You want to have a mandolin off? I just walked away. I said, yeah, no. He's a great musician, great singer, and he's played in a number of bands. And I've actually watched his career over the years, when he was just a kid in high school, I think, and so it's really fun. He plays anywhere from rock and pop, bluegrass, roots, style, and foot-stomping tunes with an undeniable ability to capture his audience and move them. Adam's passionate focus on mandolin is evident, as I just noted, with at least 20 years of experience in playing. Currently, he performs solo and with his band Smilo and the Ghost, and he was playing with the Probables. I don't know if they still are playing together or not. Adam was a Chautauqua Idol finalist and has opened for the 10,000 Maniacs, Blessed Union of Souls in Dan and Shay, and I'm happy to say I've played with Adam. So I guess that's pretty cool. And then you'll find face painting. Oh, hang on. New Juice is the acoustic duo of Ben Cornell and Brendan Weatherup. They perform rock, folk, reggae, and country covers with a laid-back, feel-good vibe and offer a little something for everyone. Okay, so that's cool. And then you'll find face painting by Patty to bring color, magic, and a dash of sparkle to every smile. Patty turns faces into mini masterpieces from fairies to tigers and a whole lot more. So again, that's happening on the 19th. And coming up, you've got, let's see, hang on a minute. Additional events are going to be taking place: Jamestown Young Professionals, Business Crawl, you got Juneteenth flag, Roger Torrey Peterson, just all kinds of things are going to be happening over time. So check it out, and all the businesses are going to have things going on, and well, check out the specials that they're offering. So get down to Jamestown on the third Thursday of each month. All right, let's go to 16. CHQ Chamber Music in the Green is June 18th. You know, this really is personal to me in that you've got organizations that support local musicians, and we have so many good musicians in Chautauqua County. I can't even count them all. And I've known so many of them over the years, and this group that you're looking at right now is one of them. The first of the season, Music in the Green in Mayville, is set for Wednesday, June 18th. This summer concert series has been crafted to blend regional entertainment with a vibrant local, walkable business community in Uptown Mayville. The Village Green at Route 394 and 430 will feature a special concert from 5 to 8 p.m. Nearby businesses will be spotlighted as well and are being urged to stay open a little later. Host sidewalk sales and create interactive or unique in-store experiences to attract and engage customers. A lot of groups are doing this, a lot of towns are doing this. Mayville area businesses that are not directly located uptown are encouraged to set up a table to promote their goods, okay? Entertainment for June 18th are friends of mine. You've seen them here on Chautauqua Sunrise twice anyways. I have performed with them. I've been part of the band that opened for them a couple times. Bob Campbell and I played together. The singer-songwriter team of Bob Campbell Nash and Liz Osborne, their talents combine as a unique duo that enjoys having a good time and sharing it. This popular duo is sure to draw a crowd. Come for the music and enjoy shopping and local dining. Local businesses and organizations participating will include everything from the Eclectic Bird, handcrafted from the heart, music for your mouth, the Opera House Home and Gifts, Chautauqua Area Habitat, and on and on and on. It goes on forever. So that's coming up on June 18th. Then, let's see, August 13th, I see you got Charity Noose and her band, and I'm sure there's going to be other announcements over time. So please, please go out there, pull up a lawn chair, blankets, whatever, and just get out, enjoy some music. It's just awesome. All right, let's go to slide 17, because this is happening this weekend. You saw it here, hopefully first. Let's see, what is today? Today's the 14th? So it's in day 2. You've got the Country Music Festival that's in support of the Shriners Children's Hospital in Erie, Pennsylvania. You had Nancy Rose here, and we talked all about the good work they're doing. We had the family here, the Murdochs, and they were telling their experience. So you've got Billy Gilman tonight, and I know that we've got Holly Avers was performing there, local musician. You have Pat Cook, who does her Patsy Cline show, and just a few other folks. And it's over there at the Warren County Fairgrounds, and that's going to be throughout the day today. Tickets are really expensive, folks, and they're still camping as far as I know. So get out there and support the organization and help with the Children's Shriners Hospital, okay? So, if that's not enough, this weekend, Yasu Festival. You know, Barb and I went to Greece last year. It is awesome. I just love Greek everything. It's going to be at St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church over on Francis Street in Jamestown. Come join them on Father's Day weekend under the big tent for the 41st annual Yasu Festival. Join them for delicious traditional Greek food and pastries, Georgia's famous Greek hot dogs. I didn't know you sold hot dogs. You don't look Greek. Greek-style coffee station, beer tent, boutique, live Irish bouzouki music with traditional Greek dancing. I think I'm only one of maybe 3 people in Chautauqua County that play the bouzouki, and it's a great instrument and lots of fun. It just gets people moving. There's going to be church tours and a whole lot more. Cash and credit cards are accepted. So check out the Yasu Festival over at St. Nicholas's Greek Orthodox Church. That is today. Yes, it started yesterday, but today's the last day. All right, then this is a new one. First annual Bluebird Festival at the Roger Tory Peterson Institute. It's going over on Curtis Street in Jamestown. Listen to this one. The free, family-friendly educational event will celebrate the Eastern Bluebird with information, activities, guided walks, presentations, and children's programs. Attendees of the festival can learn how to successfully attract nesting birds using birdhouses and native plant landscaping. Build a bluebird nest box to take home, $5 donation. Attend guided walks on the Roger Tory Peterson Institute Bluebird Trail and learn to become a citizen scientist as nest box monitors. Children's nature activities, scavenger hunt, exhibits by local environmental groups, and guest speakers will round out the day's events. Randall, you got bluebirds at your house yet?
Yes.
For real?
Yes.
Not blue jays, bluebirds. Ah, you got to get over there and get yourself a bluebird house. Correct, but they're a different type of bird. I'm happy to say we've got 4 bluebird houses at our house. You know, it's the strangest thing. I think I put them up, I think it was 2 years ago, and within 20 minutes, a bluebird showed up. They were just like waiting, I guess. And they are beautiful. They come out and they sometimes land on the railing of our deck, and you can see them up close, and they're just great. Bluebirds really can make you feel like happy. All right, what else we got? Mayville's Saturday evening market. All right, so I'm going to give you the dates, all right, and it's all the same time. So June 14th today, June 21, June 28, and July 5. You've got Saturday evening markets from 4 to 8 on all those dates right here in Mayville. Join them for the Chautauqua County's only weekly evening market with lakeside access and spectacular views of Chautauqua Lake. The market takes place Saturday evenings at Mayville's train depot, just down the road from here, and have spaces available on the deck and outside. They'll have live music this year. Watch for the final schedule to be released, and their second annual classic car show, and a whole lot more. So that's Mayville's Saturday evening market from 4 to 8 down at the train depot. If you don't know where that is, it's just down 394 at the Big Bend. All right, then we got an announcement here. County to host Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day, and that is today. And let's see, the Town of Chautauqua Highway Building at 50 Patterson Street in Mayville will serve as the site for Chautauqua County's Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day. Whew. Chautauqua County's Department of Public Facilities Division of Solid Waste is inviting residents to safely dispose of unwanted household hazardous waste during a special collection event today from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you got lots of time to do that at the town building. Chautauqua Highway Building, okay? This free service is open to the households only. Commercial businesses are not permitted to participate. So what are we talking about? Used antifreeze, fluorescent light bulbs, flammable adhesives and solvents, paint thinner and mineral spirits, deck cleaners, pool chemicals, non-empty aerosol cans, herbicides and pesticides, chemistry sets, oh yeah, and flammable floor polish, latex and oil-based paints. To participate, residents must complete a registration form listing the materials they plan to drop off. The form is available online at chautauquacounty.gov/landfill. Printer copies will also be available at the event. A complete list of accepted items is included on the form. Do not bring the following, okay? They don't want these. Batteries, fire extinguishers, motor oil or waste oils, caulk and drywall compound, electronics, prescription drugs and medical sharps, smoke detectors, okay? And this is made possible through the support of Chautauqua County, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Storers Container Service, and Chautauqua County Hazmat. Got any questions, give them a call, 661-8424. Okay? So that's taking place today. Oh, there's another one. Hang on. Oh, you're right. A second Household Hazardous Waste Drop-Off Day will take place in September on the 13th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll probably get a note on that to remind you, and that's going to be over at the Chautauqua County DPF building over on North Work Street in Faulkner. So we'll let you know more about that one. Where am I going here? Page, oh, over here now. Okay, whew, we're almost done. Okay, next, the Chautauqua County Department of Mental Health is proud to announce the certification and official opening of a new satellite mental health office with Southern Tier Pediatrics The milestone marks a significant advancement in the county's commitment to accessible, timely, and community-based behavioral health care for children and their caregivers. The new site is a satellite of the Jamestown-Chautauqua County Department of Mental Health. It's a certified community behavioral health center. The satellite is made possible by the partnership in New York State and so forth. And there you go. So look up Southern Tier Pediatrics. I don't have an address. So, and you can find out more about that. All right, and then finally, our friends at Rural Minds. The mental health nonprofit Rural Minds announced that the video Closing the Mental Health Gap Among Rural Youth in the U.S., produced in partnership with Pfizer, the National Grange, and U.S. Today, was recognized at the 46th Annual Telly Awards with 3 awards for excellence in branded content. Now, if you remember, Jeff Witten's been on the show a number of times. This is his organization. They got a gold award for branded content general for corporate image, silver award for branded content social impact, and a silver award branded content advocacy and causes. The video highlights the unique mental health challenges faced by youth living in rural America. It features content from Ashton Medlin, who grew up in the small town of Roxborough, North Carolina. In her first year at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Medlin was deeply affected by the suicide of a classmate who was a freshman and came from a small town. He lived in the same dorm and on the same floor as Medlin, and they were both struggling with the same classes. She says, "I went from being the smartest kid in the school to being one of the many smart kids. And it was like I was pulled underwater," explained Medlin, a member of the National Grange. "It was the most difficult change I'd ever had to deal with." So anyways, good on Rural Minds, and congratulations on your awards. We're going to take a break. I'm almost out of breath here, so stay tuned. We'll be right back with Senator Borrello.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
No question about it. Everything I've read says it's dangerous. It's different than all the other activities kids do, and everybody thinks, oh, it's just vaping. It's dangerous. Check it out. Okay, Senator Borrello, my 500th guest and many before that, so welcome back to the show.
It is great to be back on. Thank you.
67 shows ago you were here.
I know. I have to start off and tell you kind of a funny story about that.
Okay, please do.
So I was very honored to be your 500th guest.
That was a pleasure.
And you had put out something on Facebook saying that you're going to have a special guest that day. And my wife, Kelly, says to me, "I know you're going to be on the show, but who's the special guest?" I'm the special guest.
You the man.
This tells you what she thinks about me as far as being,
God.
you know.
Sounds like my household. The kids will say, "My dad's going to sing," and or somebody will say, "Your dad's singing," and they go, my kids go, "Yeah." Or whatever. He's on TV. It's funny. It's like we're never popular in our own household.
I know.
Well, George,
keeps me humble.
Yeah, true. So we got a lot to unwrap here today, and as always, folks, I don't do DC politics. We do state politics. We do county politics. We do village politics here to a degree because we want to know what's going on. So I always call this like the Albany Report from Senator Borrello. So you've had a busy year.
Yes.
And I want to pick up maybe on a couple things that we talked about and then come to some of the more recent activities. So let's loop back to marijuana dispensaries. You and I talked a long time ago that the marijuana bill was a disaster. It didn't spell things out, and you were concerned about edibles and on and on and on and on. And on. And we went on forever talking about it. It proved to be pretty much true, what you said. So where are we with marijuana?
Well, so here's the thing. We were sold that this was going to be this amazing panacea for the state of New York, that it was going to provide all this tax revenue and all these jobs. And right now, here we are, 4 years now after passing the original legislation, which immediately decriminalized illegal weed, and it's a disaster. We're way behind. certainly on
Still?
legal dispensaries, yes. The whole Office of Cannabis Management and the Cannabis Control Board has just been a corrupt disaster. There were, all kinds of things that went on. I won't go into the details, but you can certainly look it up. Just appointed a new, I'm on the Finance Committee of the New York State Senate, and we approve all of the governor's nominees for everything, commissions, whatever. And we just approved someone who I voted no on because, quite frankly, she's completely unqualified to do the job. We just continue to be in this cycle of patronage over actually having people that know what they're doing. So where are we right now? Well, we're still underwater. The New York State taxpayers are funding the Office of Cannabis Management, the Cannabis Control Board, to the tune of millions of dollars a year. The tax revenue does not exceed what we're spending right now. That's just on the infrastructure. Let's forget about what it's costing us to try to manage these illegal weed shops that are all across New York State in every community, that the governor and my Democrat colleagues refuse to actually engage criminally. They want to lock. We're going to put a padlock on the door. We're going to confiscate their product. But until you are going to take this person who's brazenly operating an illegal weed shop, like on a main street in Midtown Manhattan, where the cost of just renting that space is huge, until you're going to take that person and say, you are selling illegal drugs to children, and you have to go to prison for that. Until that happens, this isn't going to change, and that's my issue. They will stop short of putting someone in prison for selling marijuana. And I'm not talking about a dealer on the street. I'm talking about someone who is brazenly operating a multi-million-dollar operation in plain sight on a main street in Midtown Manhattan. They won't put that person in prison for doing that. And because what happens is they shut them down, but they just open up somewhere else. It's just a cost of doing business for them to have their weed confiscated and and the doors padlocked.
Grow some more.
Yeah, exactly. That's just get some more. So until we're willing to treat this like what it is, which is a crime, a criminal activity, I get it. You don't want to take someone who's been dealing on the streets and you're we're criminalizing it, whatever you want to call it. I disagree with that, but I get that at least because they believe there's been disparity. But until you're willing to take people that are running real operations here with employees, where they're smuggling this stuff in some cases from other states and other countries, and until you're willing to address that, this isn't going to get better.
All right. One of the concerns that we both expressed at the time was safety of the product.
Yes.
Okay. So people have been using marijuana for a million years. Okay. And then we hear about fentanyl being laced in there. We hear about who knows what's in there. And so is there any safeguards on that right now?
No. So to your point, and when I brought up the fact that a lot of this marijuana is laced, people were outraged. Why would they do that? Why would they lace their drugs? They want their customers back. Because we've allowed the market to become saturated. Okay, when you can get marijuana pretty much anywhere right now illegally.
Pretty much, yeah.
So what do you do to draw people back? Well, you got to enhance it a little bit so that it's a little stronger.
You have a little kick to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because now I'm going to go back to weed shop A instead of weed shop B, which is right next door. So again, we've created this saturated market, which has really drove the prices down, and given these drug dealers reasons to enhance their products. So just like you put fentanyl in any other illegal drug, for the same reason, to give a bigger high to bring people back. So for those that were critical of me saying that, it's happening. We know it's happening, and it needs to stop.
So out west, I don't remember what states. I want to say Colorado. Maybe I got my states mixed up. But they were making like a boom market. They had so much money they didn't even know what they're going to do with it all. Why is it New York's getting all the money they can get and they don't know what to do with it all?
Because we don't know what we're doing. That's why. Because
all right.
So here's what I would say as a business owner.
Yeah.
I understand the idea of limiting markets, and because that's creating scarcity is how you keep the market the prices high and stable. But you also have to crack down on the illegal operations. Okay, if you let's just say hypothetically, We have a very strict controls on who can sell alcohol in New York State.
Yeah.
Where you can, if you went down the road today to Westfield and every table was selling booze, homemade moonshine and or stuff that they bought, somewhere else, and every single table had it.
Prices go down.
Yeah, of course. So it's the same principle. We've allowed this saturated market for marijuana, and that's what's created the problem.
Wow. All right. So in your crystal ball, 5 years from now, is this going to be under control, or is this still going to be rampant?
It depends on whether or not my colleagues and the governor get serious about wanting to truly build a market here in New York State, and whether they really are committed to the farmers that have invested so much money into infrastructure that are now struggling, and really want to ensure that they're able to produce high quality tested product and get it to market. Are things getting better? They're getting better. I'm not going to say that they aren't, but at a very slow pace, and certainly not keeping up with the expectations that we were sold on 5 years ago.
Okay, without naming any names, in Chautauqua County, are there any legal dispensaries?
Yes, there's one in Jamestown, right downtown, and they're
legit.
They're legit. They went to great efforts to get that. I was helpful because it was very difficult for them to get their license and get up and running, even though it's owned by a certified MWBE. So we made it difficult for those folks that are trying to do this legitimately, and so that's one that I'm aware of. And there will be more.
And without any casting any dispersions, I'll see billboards as I go north along the thruway of different places that have marijuana for sale.
Sure.
Are those legal?
They're legal in the sense that they are operating on the sovereign territory of the Seneca Nation of Indians. They have the right to do that, and they are doing it. But it speaks to the fact that they could have done this 40 years ago if they wanted to, right? Why did all of a sudden did they open up seemingly like mushrooms popping up overnight?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because of the irresponsible way New York State legalized marijuana. That's why it happened the way it happened.
All right, ready to move on?
Yes.
Unless you want to add.
No, I think we don't want to turn this into the pot special.
Let's get to a real hot button. Okay. This is one that I've always watched from the sidelines, and I have the ability, as they say, two eyes. I can see both sides of the issue. Is this assistive medical end of life bill that's now been passed by both houses? Did I got that right?
That's correct. It passed Assembly first and then the Senate this week. In fact, I debated this bill on Monday.
What does that mean, you debated the bill? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's probably a good opportunity for a civics lesson, right?
There we go.
So every time we pass a law in New York State, it starts off as a bill, just like it does in Washington, D.C.
Somebody writes it up. And
And what happens is most bills that are written up are what we call non-controversial. So they end up coming before, they go through the process with committees, and then they end up on the floor of the Senate and the Assembly, and we vote on them. And, and the ones that are not controversial are not what we call laid aside. We lay aside a bill when we want to debate and ask questions.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's very important because oftentimes, even if the bill still passes, the debate frames whatever is going to happen next. In this debate, we point out flaws in the legislation that we see, unintended consequences for things like that, which we have a lot of that. And it often sets up a situation where if it hasn't passed in the other house, they may decide, look, we don't. Based on the debate that we heard, we're concerned about those things. So either you have to amend the bill, which happens more often than not, or we're not going to take it up in our house. Then, even if it does pass, because you have to have the exact same bill, you have to have matching legislation. Word for word, the bills in the Senate and the Assembly have to match.
So you would send it back to the Assembly if you didn't like something?
Correct.
Okay.
Say, the version that you passed, we don't like, here's why. And then, so until they get matching legislation, it cannot be delivered to the governor to be signed.
All right, so you have to agree on the exact verbiage.
Word for word.
Okay, gotcha.
So, when it comes to the assisted suicide, or as people have referred to it as medical aid in dying, there have been 10 or 11 other states that have done some version of this. However, in New York, the goal typically is, how do we prove that we're the most progressive And that often includes doing things that I consider to be irresponsible. In other words, let's prove that New York went further than anybody else. And that's what happened with assisted suicide. So, and you can watch the debate, but the issue is this. Someone can walk in to get a consultation with a doctor who has never once seen this patient. Doesn't have to be in person. It can be done by telemedicine.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and now they have to have another doctor that corroborates that, but that's not a difficult thing to do. They can get a prescription. They can walk into the pharmacy and get these deadly drugs whose purpose is to end someone's life and just walk out the door. There's no chain of custody for the drugs. There's no one is making sure that those drugs are actually, and this is what was, what was brought out in the debate. What happens when that person walks out? How do we know that they've taken the drugs? How do we know where those drugs are? And the answer is there's no chain of custody. There's no one following up. There is a version of this that I wouldn't necessarily vote for, but I think would be more acceptable.
Okay, let's hold that thought.
Sure.
Come back to we have a phone call.
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Doc, and good morning, George.
The birthday girl.
This is Linda Spalding. I don't want to hold up your presentation. It's excellent. I just want to say yesterday when I was having my hair done, we were all saying how happy we are to have you, George, represent us.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you so much, and happy birthday. Thank you so much.
Oh, how do people know about their birthday?
Doc told everybody.
I announced it. It was on Facebook, Linda.
It was last Monday. I'm not going to tell you on the air how old I am because my mother said any woman who will tell her age will tell anything. So.
Well, and I always say a man never asks a woman her weight or age because he wants to live long.
Well, thank you very much, and I want to hear the rest of your presentation. And happy Father's Day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Lynn. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so there's another version of the bill?
Well, there's not another. There are some alternatives out there that never made it. But what I'm suggesting is there is a way that this could be done, I think, more responsibly.
How?
We already have hospice and palliative care.
Yes, we do.
Okay. We have those folks who are medical professionals who understand the impacts. If you were going to do this in an environment where, in a hospital, in a nursing home, in a controlled situation where the drugs are controlled by the medical professionals, then I could see it. But the fact that, someone could get those drugs without having to have, by the way, there was not even a requirement for a mental health evaluation or a competency evaluation.
If my jaw could drop off my face right now, it just hit the floor. What?
This is what I'm telling you.
Well, and both houses passed this.
Yes, and this has been around for many years. But this is the first time it's ever passed. It's the first time it's ever been introduced, actually, to what we call the third recount or the final step. And I asked the sponsor about these things, and his only response is, well, it hasn't happened in other states. Well, first of all, we don't know that because the states like Oregon, the suicide rate has gone up dramatically in the state of Oregon. And so the other thing, imagine this scenario. If you have a terminally ill family member, I would say that this is a horribly emotional time for your family. You have fathers with, young children, adolescent children that are about to lose their dad, for example, right? The children. Yeah. And, what about the fact that you have these suicide drugs in your home with kids who are going through in a very emotional period of time, and no one is watching?
It's happening now. With reading the medicine cabinet.
Yes, exactly. And the drugs are not designed to kill you.
Right.
Like these drugs are. This is what they do. We talk about you've got to lock up your guns, and you need to make sure that you have this type of a gun safe because your kids are going to get access to it. But we have no controls on deadly drugs that are going to be brought into someone's home, and we have no idea. How do we know that the person that passed away actually died because they took those drugs? How do we know those drugs are not still around? How do we not have someone in law enforcement or healthcare whose job it is to ensure that those drugs are returned in the event that that person doesn't die as a result of committing suicide, because my understanding in other states is more than 1/3 of people do not end up taking the drugs. They die of natural causes before the drugs are administered or taken. So that means 1 out of 3 prescriptions that are handed out are going to be out there.
Somewhere.
So
let me ask a tough question, okay? Is there a need to have this bill if it was perfect?
Well,
and I know that's a stupid question, but I mean...
It's a philosophical question, that's what it is. Because philosophically, I don't believe that we should be in this business as government.
Okay.
Philosophically, I feel that, because in other areas, including Canada and other countries, this has expanded into allowing people, not just with terminal illness, but you've got severe. But by the way, this was opposed by a number of organizations, including people who are advocates for the disabled. There are other countries where someone who is not of sound mind mentally has been allowed to commit suicide because of not being of sound mind mentally. Yeah. So it devalues human life, in my opinion. And as much as I have sympathy, again, I've had friends and family who have suffered with terminal illnesses, including horrible things like ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, which I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But at some point, we have to ask ourselves, is it worth the risk, and is it worth the what could potentially happen down the road as this expands, as we have seen it expand in other countries, including Canada. I mean, I heard a heartbreaking story about a father who had a child, who was, I believe, with on the spectrum, that decided that they wanted to commit suicide, and the doctors were going to let him do it. Not terminally ill, but
yeah, and that's a slippery slope.
Yes,
is that now we're getting into euthanasia. We're getting into who lives, who dies. This person is not perfect, and well, we'll get rid of them. Like we're going back to the old days of the Greeks when they would put the disabled child on the mountaintop and let the child perish up there. I mean, it's sort of the same idea. But on the other hand, I know of situations like yourself where the person, maybe they're I don't want to even go into great details, but I guess what I'm saying is someone that there's no opportunity to come back to real life. A broken spinal column where they're in a coma, or there's brain damage and there's no returning. I don't know. Or somebody that is just ridden with horrible disease, cancer or whatever, and totally debilitated, and they're just in agony all the time. What do we do for them,
And that's the difficult question, right?
Yeah.
At what point do we say? But to me, if the person's incapable of making the decision for themselves, I don't think we should make that decision for anyone else. That's first. When you start talking about something like ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, by the time it gets to the point where your quality of life is so bad, you would not be able to physically take that medication yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you? Because that's one of the big things that they offer as a disease that someone should be able to end their life. You would have to end your life much earlier than you would die naturally because of your physical inability to take the drugs at a certain point. Because for those of you that don't know, ALS, you lose the control of your body, okay? And eventually you end up not being able to breathe on your own. That's how most people end up perishing, unfortunately. So at what point where you are no longer be able to lift your hand to your face to take drugs, because they're oral medications most of the time. So again, very difficult, very challenging, but our job in government is to always err on the side of caution. And we have not done that in this case.
Okay, so best guess. The bill's now gone to the governor's desk. What do you think?
I don't think the governor wants to have this on her desk. So technically it hasn't gone to her desk. Okay, there's two ways for a bill.
According to the newspaper, that's what it sounded like. Okay.
Well, and there's the assumption that's made. But there is a process. The Senate and Assembly can jointly agree to send the bill to the governor's desk without her asking for it. And the other option is she can request a bill to be sent to her desk. Now, again, we're at the very end of session, so this hasn't happened yet, because because there hadn't been enough time for them to get through all the stuff to get that bill ready to go to her desk. So the question will be, what will happen next? I suspect in this particular case of the assisted suicide bill, this will be one, if it is signed, it'll be one of the last things that she does at the end of the year.
All right. A question came up on my phone here. It says, once a bill has been passed, can it be removed down the road?
Yes. So there's a number of ways to do things. First of all, once the bill is passed, the governor can veto the bill, which ends it. That happens a lot. In fact, there are many, many bills this year that we've passed that the governor will veto, and she will do so for several reasons. It could be because there's a technical problem with it. It could be because she would like it amended, or it could be just because she doesn't like the bill at all and she doesn't want to sign it. Up until this year, the Democrats in the state Senate and the Assembly had supermajorities. What does that mean? That means that they have enough votes within their own conferences to override a governor's veto.
Was it 2/3? Or?
2/3.
Okay.
This past election, we were successful in eliminating that supermajority in the state Senate. So the Democrats can no longer, on their own, override a governor's veto.
Okay.
So that changes the dynamic, right?
Yeah.
It changes the negotiation.
So she says no, it's no.
It's no, yeah, exactly, because they will need Republican votes to override that veto. So that has changed things, I think, for the better, because there are things that did not happen this year that could have if they had the ability to override a veto. So, so in this case, there can also be what's referred to as a pocket veto. A pocket veto is that the governor just never takes the bill up. So
just sets it aside.
Yes, stick it in her pocket. Yeah, that's what the pocket veto means. And just
I've never heard that.
So yeah, so there will be a number of bills that at the end of session have been pocket vetoed. In other words, it was never officially vetoed. Like she didn't veto
it's
it.
Like in limbo.
Yes, it just never got signed before the end of session.
Wow.
So
that's why I love having you guys on here. Is we get to hear about what's going on in Albany that we never get to see because. You know what it is. There's only so much room in the newspapers, only so much room on a show or whatever, and you and I are able to, in almost 40 minutes, drill down into some of these things. That's so cool. Okay, you ready now?
I'm ready.
All right, so we've covered two tough topics so far. The next one that I have, and again, how do I frame this? As simple as this. With what's going on in the United States right now, we're seeing the federal government and the state governments and local governments at odds. All right, maybe that's the best way to put it. So you and I chatted about this beforehand because I never try to surprise you with any gotchas, but I've recently seen where the federal government has overridden a state's authority on the National Guard or bringing in military into a state. And so the question I have is, who's in charge? Whose responsibility is certain things? And does the federal government get to say what the state does, or does the state get to say get out of here? I mean, where's the fine line here? I'm a little lost.
Well, first of all, I think we were seeing litigation to answer those questions, right?
Yeah.
And there's always the interpretation of the Constitution of the United States. But here's the thing, and it is probably, in my opinion, the most perfect political document, or at least as close to perfect as you can get, is there's no greater political document in the history of the world than the United States Constitution, in my opinion. Okay. Let's start there.
Okay.
And why is that? It's because it's very simple in the sense that here are the abilities of the federal government. This is what the federal government is allowed to do.
Pretty straightforward.
And anything that's not specifically outlined in that document as a role of the federal government is left to the states and to the people.
Okay.
That, to me, is what makes it such a great document. Now the question is, how do you interpret each one of those? Right? That's where it becomes becomes less simple. But to speak, I think you're kind of talking about the role of the National Guard. Let's explain the National Guard, because I've heard some people talk about that the United States military cannot take up arms against the people of the United States. That's not the role of the National Guard. Period.
It's a different organization.
Exactly. The role of the National Guard is to engage in things that are going on inside the United States.
That's why it's called National Guard.
Exactly. Their role is, and sometimes they are federalized and sent overseas because
I've seen that.
Yes. Okay. But their everyday role is to essentially keep the peace and to be, boots on the ground in emergencies.
Like if there was a flood or a hurricane, they're called in to help out, right?
Exactly. So what bothers me is that I've seen Governor Hochul criticize the President of the United States for sending the National Guard into California. Yet, right now, as we speak, she has taken the National Guard and put them into the subways in New York City and into our prisons to essentially be untrained prison guards. So she's really kind of throwing a stone from a glass house, in my opinion, if she's criticizing the President of the United States, who has the full authorization to mobilize and federalize those National Guard troops.
Okay, help me now. Help me.
Sure.
All right. So you just said two different people can call the National Guard. I don't get it. It's called National Guard. It's not the State Guard. It's the National Guard. So who's the boss?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So it's a function of the federal government to create the National Guard.
All
right.
right. So they pay the government. The United States government pays the National Guard to be the National Guard.
But if the state utilizes it for a state purpose, they do not. So right now, the state government, our taxpayer dollars are paying for those National Guard troops that are in the subways of New York City and in the prisons of New York State. That is costing, I'm told, about $100 million a month. Yeah, so not a small price tag.
So does a state governor have to ask permission for the National Guard to come into their state?
No, because they're already here.
They're assigned to the state?
Yes, every state.
This is not simple.
This is no. So they are the New York National Guard, and every state has their National Guard.
All right.
They are made of troops that are based here in New York State. Most of them are not full time.
Where are they?
They're everywhere because so this is the National Guard is essentially a part-time organization.
All right.
They are not. That is not a career job.
So people we work with, they could be National Guard. You get a call, I gotta go.
That's it. That's what's called mobilizing.
That's
the
like the
National Guard.
state militia back in the 1700s.
It's exactly yes.
Yeah.
So in the case of the young men and women that are in these prisons, many of them have left their jobs to do this. Now they are required by law. The businesses that employ them are required by law to keep those positions open. But in the case of the National Guard that are in our prisons, they're saying this assignment could be a year or more. So kind of tough, right? Kind of tough on your family and tough on your finances.
All things,
Right. So the governor, in my opinion, is being not only hypocritical, but look what she's doing. She's taking folks out of their normal job and sticking them in a prison for over a year versus National Guard troops that were mobilized in California to try to keep the peace in a dangerous situation.
All right. So a governor can ask for the state or the National Guard or the President of the United States or his whatever representatives could call for the National Guard.
Well, it has to be the president, but yes.
Oh, so it has to be the president.
It has to be the president, it has to be the governor.
All right, so
the governor has the autonomy to mobilize their guard troops within their state.
All right.
And they actually, by the way, they actually have the ability to send them elsewhere. New York National Guard troops have gone down to the southern border.
If somebody asked them to come.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right. All right. Now here's the next question. This is getting good. All right. So I don't care what state it is. It's state X. And the president, whoever the president is, we'll just keep it generic, okay, says, I'm sending the National Guard into your state, just like we saw. But let's not use that example. But any time, can a governor say, hold it, I don't want you? Legally. I mean, how do they stop them?
So the answer currently is no. Because there has to be, if there is a reason why the President of the United States believes that National Guard troops are needed, he can mobilize those troops. And in the case of California, I think it is important to use it because it's an example that we can talk about. Now, is it often that when the president sends National Guard troops
like
somewhere,
1965 was the last time or something?
It's typically it's because the state has requested that help
there
if
you
they
go.
need the help.
That's the kicker, right?
That's right. So,
Mr. President, please help us.
Yes, right, exactly.
Or Mrs. President,
and this is where we have to go from policy to politics. The question is, when you have in Los Angeles, where the police department at first came out, said, the police chief said, we're overwhelmed, we can't handle this, and the governor chose not to deploy National Guard troops. The President of the United States says, I still have an obligation to protect those citizens, so I will send those troops in.
Ooh. So this is where it gets murky, huh?
That's where it gets murky, exactly.
Right.
And then that's where it begins. Then it becomes a constitutional question that has to be taken up in the courts, and I think that's where we are right now.
All right, let's take it one step further.
Okay.
The Marines. Marines are not National Guard.
That's correct.
And they're supposed to be protecting us out there, not in here.
Correct.
So where does the Constitution sit on that?
Well, first of all, you and I'm not an expert at that. So the National Guard is a function of the United States Army.
Gotcha.
The Marine Corps is not,
They're
so
standalone, yeah.
right. So that's where you get into, and I can't remember the term for it, but there is a term of why Marines are not allowed to take up arms inside the United States borders. I'm not an expert on the military.
Right. Well, that was my understanding too.
Right, but that is but again, these are National Guard troops, which are absolutely constitutionally allowed to engage within the United States borders.
Marines can't.
Marines cannot. Now, and again, I don't know if you're a former Marine who has now become a member of the National Guard.
Right.
You can get technical, right?
Right.
But an active duty member of the Marine Corps, to my understanding, and again, I'm not an expert, would not be able to.
Because I keep hearing this, and I don't know if it's happening or what.
I have not heard of Marines being deployed to Los Angeles.
All right.
These are National Guard troops, which again is a function of the United States Army.
All right. We're going to follow this.
Okay.
Story at 11. Okay. Thank you for working with me on that particular topic. And as always, we're down to 3 minutes.
Oh, wow.
George,
that was
we
quick.
made this like a 2-hour show or something. All right. I'm going to hit my favorite topic, Gateway Project.
Yes.
Anything there?
So I think we've seen some good news. You've seen Love's open up over there.
All right, let's tell everybody what the Gateway Project is.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, back when I was county executive, I proposed a gateway in Ripley, and I would still love to see that happen.
Me too.
I've talked to the IDA, I've talked to the county executive. The challenge we are facing is certainly that the Thruway Authority does not want that, because it would be prior to you getting on the Thruway, right?
Yeah.
And they spend a lot of money on all these service areas.
Please.
But forever and ever, you will never change the fact that Ripley is indeed the gateway to New York State coming from
Not
the
Grand
west.
Island.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And Ripley, not only economically would be a great thing for Ripley.
For all of Chautauqua County.
But that is what the entrance of New York State should look like, okay? If you love the state of New York as I do, as you do, then we should have a welcome center and the entrance of New York State right on the border at Ripley, and it should be something that I think properly represents New York State, and that's why something that I originally designed when I was county executive.
I was very excited about it.
Yeah, and I still have those designs, those plans. They're still
don't throw them away.
No, and we'll see. You know, look, politics often plays a role.
I never noticed that. No.
Yeah, no. Even the guys in the.
I know. I try to keep things light here.
And so someday perhaps we can get past the politics.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is no small feat from a standpoint.
No, we talked this a lot.
What's going to cost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the one that we designed back in 2018, 7 years ago, conservatively was going to be about a $16 million build out. That's probably double now.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
And then of course you have to have someone that's going to operate it and those things.
That.
So, but I remain hopeful because I think it's a great idea.
Good things take a while sometimes.
Yes, that's right.
All right, we're down to a minute. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you talk about whatever you want and talk to your constituents. Say whatever you want.
Well, let me just first of all say what great it is, how great it is to be back on the show with
Thank you.
I am forever honored with being the 500th guest.
You're my 500th.
That's right. That's right. And as I said before, I want to be the 1,000th when that day comes. And I hope you're here for that.
Wheelchair.
Yeah. But you know, so yesterday I was driving home after not a lot of sleep from Albany to back home, and probably the best feeling in the world was to pull into my driveway in Sunset Bay and make it home in time to watch the sunset.
Oh, it's been beautiful this year.
Yeah, and you know what, folks, this place is not perfect, the state of New York, but I think we live in a perfect place.
Pretty darn close.
And you know, as I was driving here, I was watching the vendors set up in Westfield for the farmers market. This is the best place in the world, and I am so proud to represent all of you in the New York State Senate.
And that's why Chautauqua Sunrise does what we do here, is to talk about the good things in Chautauqua County.
And thank you for doing that.
Absolutely,
I'm honored again to be here.
All right. Folks, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. That's all I can say. We didn't solve any problems, but we clarified things, and that's why I enjoy so much having you here, and we're going to do this again sometime, okay?
Well, love
Before
to.
1,000 shows.
That's right.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful Father's Day weekend. Hopefully it's dry now. Does it stop raining yet? I don't even know. We're in a tomb here. So, George, thanks for being here, and you be safe, and thanks for the good work you do.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. I got a bunch of them. So we'll see you next week, everybody. We got a great lineup for the rest of June and into July. Hopefully the rain stops. Take care. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.